ladies and gentlemen, it's indeed a matter of great pleasure to be here today this morning. And believe you me, first time when I was talking to Anu, I didn't know I think what Banyan Tree is doing. And what I learned little bit about Banyan Tree, let me compliment each one of you to be part of this group, Banyan Tree. You see, Banyan Tree has a very unique, I would say, contribution which happened in Bodh Gaya.
Yes.
When Siddharth, incidentally, I was doing this course in Tokyo, Japan, when a Nepalese officer told me we gave you Buddha, I said, no, you gave us Siddharth, we made him Buddha.
Wow.
When Siddharth came to Bodh Gaya, he was sitting under the banyan tree and where he gave that enlightenment. I was talking about it just outside. What is enlightenment is wisdom. And the difference between knowledge and wisdom, other day
we were discussing.
So you all are, I would say, wise people. I won't call you knowledgeable people. You are wise people. You have the wisdom of business world. And I think what wisdom you would have, I would like to learn from you this morning. And it would be more of an interactive session. I would cover a few aspects and would request for your comments, any views you have. So that's about the banyan tree. Let me talk a little bit about my area, which I am commanding right now. I look after two states of Jharkhand and Bihar. Also look after the border with Nepal. And what you see in the slide here, very few people know about Bihar. When we talk about Bihar, people say, no, I'm not going to Bihar. And I also went for the first time maybe 2 years back, and what I saw and what I experienced in Bihar, I think it's fantastic. You see, so many religions have started from Bihar. Like what you see here, do we have a laser pointer? Like you see Patna Sahib, Harminder Sahib. Patna Sahib, Guru Gobind Singh Ji was born. And he was the man who wrote Guru Granth Sahib, which is being worshipped. So can we say the origin of Sikhism happened at Patna Sahib?
Wow.
And I have read Guru Granth Sahib and I can share with you the two lines which has been written so beautifully. Chidiya nal baaj ladawa, tahi Guru Gobind Singh naam kaha.
Wow.
Baaj nal baaj, anybody can fight. And we in military, we say it is chivalry to fight a bigger and a larger enemy with a smaller force. So that is Chidiya nal baaj ladawa. You see, Rajgir is the place where just before going to Bodh Gaya, Siddharth was there for a couple of months to get that peace. Where he was, before getting enlightened, you go to calm down. The calming effect happened at Rajgir where there is this stupa, which is still constructed, where Siddharth was sitting for a number of months before he came to Bodh Gaya. And Bodh Gaya, you all know, started the Buddhism. We had the Jainism starting from Vaishali. We have Shershah Suri, who was born at Sasaram, who was a moderate Muslim and fighting the Mughals. And we have, above all, Sitamarhi, where Ma Sita was born. Everybody talks about Ram Janam Bhoomi, nobody talks about the place where Sitaji was born. We have Chanakya, who was born in Bihar. We have the first battle of independence, which started from Danapur, where I am commanding. We still have the Ara barracks, from where the battle of first independence started. Though they say it's Meerut, but I have gone into the history and found out that it was actually Danapur. But it never came out in that manner. So, of late, people are calling me as the ambassador of Bihar, because wherever I go, I speak about Bihar. I ask people to travel to Bihar and explore those hidden treasures of Bihar which nobody knows. So that's all about, I would say, the place of my posting. Can I go to the next slide, please? Next slide. Next one. Okay, fine. Now let me very briefly talk about this Operation Khukri, and then I will talk about leadership. And real test of leadership is in crisis. And I have faced that crisis for almost 75 days to stay without food. No food to eat for 75 days. And there are about 1,000 militants who are surrounding you, and you have no communication with your home. Nobody knows you are alive. Are you breathing? Nobody knows where you are. And in those days, in 1999, there were no mobiles, no connectivity, nothing. So we have gone through that experience of 75 days. Firstly, where is Sierra Leone? If you see here in the circle, the west coast of Africa. Sierra Leone is a very small country which was a British colony till 1961. 61 it became independent, and thereafter the civil war in Sierra Leone started, and that civil war continued for almost 10 to 15 years. And there were more than 1 million casualties in that civil war, and more than, I would say, 2 to 3 million hands and legs were cut by the rebel organization. They used to simply ask you long sleeves or half sleeves. The punishment by the rebels used to be to the common people, you want long sleeves or half sleeves. Long sleeves meant that they would only cut your hand from here. And if you want half sleeves, they will cut it from here. That was a punishment they were giving to the common people. And when we went there in 1999, I saw so many of them without either a hand or a leg. And the population of Sierra Leone were waiting for us, the United Nations peacekeeping force, to arrive to calm down that country. What they have suffered, I would request if you go down onto the Google and see Cry Freetown. Cry Freetown is a little documentary you must see. And incidentally, Freetown is the name given because the slaves in the Western world who did good job were released at Freetown, and thereafter they were free. That is how this name Freetown came into being. So most of the people who were staying there were erstwhile, their ancestors were slaves, and thereafter this generation came up. Luckily today Sierra Leone is a peaceful country. They owe their independence to India, and we don't know about it. They say that we are today a peaceful country, a democratic country, thanks to India. This operation Khukri happened because when we went there, the militants had agreed to lay down weapons to a neutral force. That is how the UN force was sent there. After some time, maybe after about 3 months, the civil war recommenced. I am not going into details because in case you want to read, the book speaks it all. But I would be very brief to say the civil war restarted, and these militants, or I would say the rebels, the Revolutionary United Front, rebels, they surrounded the entire peacekeepers wherever they were. I was commanding a company with 233 Indian soldiers in Calahon, in a jungle. We were located in a jungle. That happened to be the headquarters of RUF, and they surrounded us. When I inquired, they said the entire peacekeepers, they have laid down weapons. And there were 17 countries, of which 16 countries actually laid down weapons to the rebels. But the Indian soldiers said, no, we worship weapons. Thank you very much. And we do. We worship our weapon. I said, this uniform is my religion, weapon is my God. You let me walk out with my God, I will go. You keep everything else here, they did not understand. In the bargain, we had to survive 75 days without food. A lot of people ask me, and I read in the book, that we actually had to eat ghas ki roti also during those 75 days. Because we had to survive. We had to survive. We have to probably fight our way back. And after 75 days, when nothing happened, no diplomacy worked, neither at UN headquarters nor at country to country level. Atal Bihari Vajpayee was the Prime Minister of India. He gave green signal for going ahead with the operation Khukri. That is how we, one fine, I would say early morning, though in the previous evening I had met the rebel commanders. I had a number of flag meetings. The previous evening I went to meet him one last time. to tell him that, Martin, he was a brigade commander. I said, Martin, final call. Are you letting us go? He says, Major, you have to go the same way, the way other peacekeepers have gone. We'll allow you to go. I said, no, I'm not going that way. And incidentally, that day we shared a drink together. And the final goodbye to Martin was, Martin, I'm going to miss you. Because we had developed a relationship between us as friends also. Because we were having a number of flag meetings. And I bid goodbye and morning we did a dhawa onto those rebels. And we broke that siege to walk through jungle 75 kilometers and come back to India with honor. This is Operation Khukri. And in very brief, I told you, but what happened thereafter? There were 2 British helicopters which participated in this operation to take out one British officer who was with me. And the BBC started showing this operation as a British operation. Indian media was nowhere to reach. And that is how the British stamp was put onto this operation, which was hurting, and hurting me for 20 years. I had given a commitment to those 233 soldiers that one day world would know about your chivalry, what you have gone through. They were ringing me up time and again. Sir, you had made a commitment, what are you doing? And finally, there are certain positive takeaways of COVID. Finally, I said, COVID happened. It gave me time to write. And that is how this book came about. And I'm so happy to share with you my daughter, Damini Punia. She worked with me day in and day out for 18 months. She had left her job during COVID and joined me at Danapur. We sat down next to River Ganga where I stayed. And this book came out after about 18 months of every day working for 6 to 7 hours. And that is how 200 odd pages has come out. And I'm happy to announce that a movie contract has been signed and shortly the
Wow.
So maybe in little time you may be able to see this on the screen also. And this is something of late I'm sharing the latest contract that has happened about the movie. It's a production house. I can't share the name because that's the clause in the contract. They will announce at an appropriate time that who is the director, producer and the hero. But it's going to be a big project and some big names are connected with this movie. So that's about Operation Khukri. And do find time to read what I have shared with you because I could not explain in detail with the constraint of time, but in that book I have written primarily about survival for 75 days. How did we survive? You can understand couple of days, it's all right, but 75 days is a long time. And we were on a peacekeeping mission. Some of our own people would start doubting my leadership and say, kuch gadbad hone wala hai, why don't we go out the way other peacekeepers have gone? We are on a peacekeeping assignment. So you have to keep your team motivated. You have to keep them into high morale. You have to assure them, I will take you back home, don't worry. Because that is the real test and challenge of leadership which actually comes in crisis. Good times you are a good leader, but difficult times you learn the real art of leadership, which is actually an art. Nothing, no science about it. A lot of debate keep happening. Is it a science or it's an art? It is an art. Leadership is an art. We'll talk about it more a little later. Okay, now coming to leadership. You see, this photograph is showing so many of things which you can pick up to start practicing leadership. I asked an audience in the military, young officers, what would you pick up? Somebody told me I would pick up a stick. Somebody told me I would go by the book. I said you would need all of them. You can't do with one instrument to go ahead with leadership. You need all of them, and then you need to know where to apply which one. That is an art about leadership. Kab dil se or kab dimag se decision lena. If you can sort out this, I think everything else will fall into line. हम लोग जहाँ पे दिल लगाना है वहाँ पे दिमाग लगाते हैं, जहाँ पे दिमाग लगाना है वहाँ पे दिल लगाते हैं. If you can sort out this combination, I think everything else will fall into place. Leadership is all about trust. Trust of your subordinates. There would be n number of definitions about leadership. But what I have experienced is all about trust of your subordinates. How do you build the trust in your subordinates that they stand with you, maybe crisis, maybe difficult times, maybe headwinds, anything. If you can create that bond of trust with your subordinates, I think everything else will be taken care of. So coming to the definition of leadership, and this definition is written by me personally, you will not find it anywhere in any book. So leadership is a process whereby the individual influences a group of individuals to achieve a common goal. You see, you have to look at the target, the objective, the goal, which is supreme. You can't say I'm looking after the welfare of my people without any aim in life, then what is your leadership is all about?
Yeah.
Your leadership has to improve the organization you are into. Otherwise, you may be a hell of a leader. What good are you if your organization, which is you are commanding or you are part of a business, is not benefiting or gaining from your leadership? Then you take your leadership home. Why do you need that leadership? It needs to improve the organizational effectiveness. So it's about a common goal which you have to achieve. In doing so, commanding the trust of subordinates is an essential part of the entire process. Being a process, you got to be responsive. There are a number of styles of leadership, autocratic, democratic, you name anything and everything, but ultimately what would work is responsive leadership, which is based on a situation and time. You have to apply the right instrument at the right time. That is the crux of responsive leadership. If you are not responsive, you only are fixed to a particular idea of leadership, it will not work. Like I give an example, the Britishers would give you a pack of rum in the forming of place just before charging on to the enemy. When we charge on to the enemy, you are about 100 meters from the enemy. You put your bayonet on your rifles and now you have to do dhawa. And that dhawa means hand-to-hand fighting. So as part of a drill, the Britishers, we don't give. The Britishers used to give a pack of rum to every soldier in that forming of place. What is it? The way of, I would say, achieving the goal. When you take a large drum, I think you will take bigger risks and you would not look back. You would go and do hand-to-hand fighting with that enemy which is in front of you. So it's definitely, I would say, an open-ended process which needs you to come out with out-of-the-box ideas. No fixed ideas would work. And that out-of-the-box thinking is required to be a good leader. In any case, I keep talking about it in many seminars that I am not covering it today. Problem solving. Probably I will talk about it next time. Problem solving. We all get engrossed into a particular problem so much that we don't find the solution. Because the solution will always, 100 out of 100, solution will lie outside the problem. So when you have to solve a problem, don't go deep into the problem. Look outside, you'll find a solution.
Wow.
So practically, I'm telling you that in day-to-day routine problem, we go deep and deep into the problem and the problem would become bigger and bigger. The moment you move outside and look for a solution, the problem is finished. So, I'm not covering it today, but definitely, I would say a leader has to be thinking out of the box. He has to be thinking of innovative ideas. And most important, he has to be a self-evolving leader with time. You can't be just that I am now ultimate. Like the wisdom grows, the leadership will grow with age, with experience, with time. And you've got to keep analyzing your mistakes in the past. You will commit mistakes. If somebody says, I will not commit mistake, he is not being honest. Everybody will commit mistakes. We are human beings. If we are human beings, we will make mistakes. But a leader would learn from his past mistakes and he would improve. And maybe that is why I am saying it's an evolving leadership. You have young entrepreneurs. I'm telling somebody, they would be very good, I would say knowledge-wise, but they got to be wiser. They got to learn with age about wisdom, because what actually come handy in business or anywhere, wherever you are, is your wisdom. My village, Gambuda, is the most wise man, and whenever I go home, I talk to him. He has never gone to school, but he will teach you so much. So wisdom and evolving as a leader with age, with experience, is a cutting edge. Fine, now I am coming to this. For a leader, it is important to be happy. And if you are not happy, you are only, I would say, frowning onto your subordinates and only taking out your anger. You are disturbed from home and you take it out on your staff and all that. So you want to be happy. How can you be happy? You see, there are 4 behavior patterns in every human being. All 4 would be there in each one of you. If you feel you are only one box, you would be wrong. And you all would have seen this in the management courses. But I am taking a step forward. This is what is in red, is the behavior of yours, which is known to you and known to others. It's a huge arena, which I would say everybody knows is Siddha, straightforward person and all that. This is something which is unknown to others, and also it is known to self. This is unknown to both. This is blind, which is unknown to self, and unknown to others. But basically, I am not going into all 4 of them. I am only focusing on arena. Arena is the behavior which is known to you also and known to everybody else. Please enlarge your arena. Now you will ask me, how do I enlarge my arena? You would enlarge the arena by introspection. How am I behaving? Is it right? Am I understanding my own behavior? When you lose your temper, thereafter do you think, why did I lose my temper? What did I gain? Analyze your own behavior. Your subordinates should also understand your behavior. That is a big arena, and a happy man, a good leader. If you are a facade where you also don't know how you are behaving, then I think you won't do justice to leadership. So leadership needs happy leaders. If you are a happy leader, you will create a happy team around. And commanding a happy team is much easier than to command a team which is given up with problems in life. Create that happiness around you. You should be one radiating happiness. To radiate happiness, you want to be happy yourself. Okay, fine. Without going into details, I would definitely like to talk about happiness, but I will leave one, I would say, idea of happiness, how to be happy right away. And if you remember that, I think I'll be also very happy. Because most of us, what we have done, we have given our key to happiness. Everybody says there is a key to happiness. But what mistake we do, we put that key in somebody's pocket. And thereafter you are unhappy all your life, because he will say something, you will be unhappy. Why don't you keep that key in your pocket? And I told my children, they have started carrying a key जिसके ऊपर लिखा होता है happiness in their pocket.
Wow, that's amazing.
Wow.
And my daughter says, Papa, I don't get disturbed because somebody says something, I touch my key. Just to remind me, yes, my key is with me. Let her say anything. Let him say anything. So the biggest mistake today the world is doing is everybody, husband put the key into wife's pocket and the wife puts it into husband's pocket. Thereafter what happens? The husband says something, wife is upset. Wife says something, husband is upset. So please keep your key with you and just do a little tap on the key when you are getting disturbed to remind you, key, it's with me. That is the best way to be happy if you can. And your arena would be huge. Huge arena, everybody will know, he's a straightforward, Siddha banda and he talks straight. He means what he's talking. Jo andar hai wo bahar hai. Things like that. So, I'm not going into details of this entire facade and all that, why it is like that, but I would say to be a good leader, have a big arena. To have a big arena, learn to be happy. And to learn to be happy, keep the key with you.
Awesome.
And I'm sure It will travel down to your family, it will travel down to your subordinates. You will create a happy environment wherever you are. People will look forward to interact with you, to talk to you, because you are radiating that happiness which they are looking for. And ultimately, happiness is within us. You heard that Kasturi Kundal Basai, Hiran is having Kasturi within its own self, and it is running for that happiness in the entire jungle, and running finally, that Hiran dies without knowing that happiness was. So please try to discover that happiness within you. That was the whole aim in this slide I want to share with you. Going to the next slide. These are the 4 types of workers you will get. You can't, your HR section can't only hire stars, that I want to hire only stars, you will not get. You will get stars, you will get problem child, you will get deadwood, you will get workforces. All 4 variety, you will get percentage may vary. You can't have a team of only stars. If you are lucky, and if you have even 80%, I will be very happy, but stars will be 30% in a team, not more than that. But how do you create stars? These are the people who are workforces maximum in your team, because they work very hard but they lack the potential. These are the people neither potential nor hard work. You may fire them, I may still put them on a sentry duty in the army, but you may not need them. Don't keep them with you. This is the star in making, problem child. You all will have couple of them with you who are problem child. Even I was a problem child as a young officer. My commanding officers, उन्होंने जैसे हीरे को तराशते हैं, मेरे को तराश के they made me a star. Because I'm being very honest, I was a real problem child. I mean, my commanding officer would say every day, ask my second in command ki Punia ठीक ठाक है? Always. Because if Punia goes to market, he will bash up somebody or create a report from there that one young lieutenant came and he manhandled somebody and the shopkeeper is complaining, things like that. But I had the potential. So these problem children will have the potential. And you got to motivate them, you got to take work out of them, and it is very easy to make stars from them. If you can do that in your team, wherever you are, you will have more stars. Otherwise, you only depend on, they are doing 80% of the task, but they are 30% in number, not more than that. But if you get them into this bracket and make them at least 60%, then I would say 100%, even more than 100% of the job would be done. So identify those problem children in your team and see how you can handle them, how you can motivate them, how you can take work out of them. Make them stars, because they have the potential, they need to work hard, which you have to motivate. So that is all I thought I will share, because having done a management course, all this I learned, but thereafter I started analyzing to take it forward. And that is what I am doing. Like when you say UDA cycle is gone. Now it is OA. You have to quickly take decision, quickly act, orient yourself and take decision and go ahead. You can't do observe, orient, and you are taking your time to take your decision. So what I am trying to simply say is that whatever management teaches you, you have to take it forward by your own wisdom. So I realized that nobody taught me that you can make them stars, but I feel you can make them stars. And that is the art of leadership, how you make them stars. Your own behavior as a leader. Again, I would not be going to, all would be aware of it. Types of leader. Delegating, participating, selling and telling. Basically, your behavior between your relationship and your task. You have to keep both as supreme. You have a task in hand, and you also need to develop relationship and motivate your subordinates. So you got to balance between the two, and you have to doing both. I would say not both, all four: delegating, participating, selling, and telling, depending on the situation. You can't be fixed on one style of leadership and say, I'm only going to be delegating, that is all. At times you will be delegating. At times you would be participating, at times you would be selling, but you want to balance yourself between your tasks. That is what we do in the military. For us, welfare of our men is supreme, but more than that is the task in hand. So when it comes between task and welfare of your soldiers, I have to go with the task. And that is what you also do in business. Your task, ultimately, what you are going to target, your, I would say, targets of that particular business year and your aim, your objective, you can't compromise for your welfare of your subordinates. At the same time, you have to keep them motivated, so it will be easier to achieve that task. So try and work between these, I would say. Okay, this very briefly, I would share this, and this I learned when I was serving in Arunachal Pradesh. I was commanding a mountain brigade where somebody said I was looking after the line of actual control against the Chinese, about 450 kilometers. So that is where one old man, he told me, somewhere Subhansri. Incidentally, you see here this point?
Yes.
This is where Brahmaputra actually originates. It enters at Tuting. There is a place called Tuting in Arunachal where Sangpo. Sangpo is the name of the river in China. This is Sangpo. And then it enters at Tuting into India. And thereafter it joins Lohit, Siom, Subansri, couple of rivers to become Brahmaputra. So this old man told me, sir, do you know, we do not worship Brahmaputra. It is not worshipped. But you people worship Ganga. I said, we do. He said, do you know why? I said, no. He says, wherever Ganga went, it created happiness, it created prosperity. Civilizations could come up on banks of river Ganga. Nothing could come up on Brahmaputra because it kept changing its course every year. And there were floods, there were problems, there were devastation, there were miseries around Brahmaputra. It is not worship. I said, what do you want to tell me? He says, sir, do good deeds in life. It is not about where you are born or where you die. It is all about what deeds, what you do in your, I would say, journey of life. Well, go back. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this is the point from where river Ganga and Brahmaputra both are born. They are born together. And death brings them together again when they enter BEHAVIOUR. That is the point he wanted to make. Both the rivers are born together at one point, and death brings them together again. But what they have done in the journey of life makes Ganga being worshipped, and Brahmaputra is like a terror. It was scared to even stay next to Brahmaputra. So that is why I said it is your good deeds, your journey of life that would count. And incidentally, I'm sure you would be aware, but let me tell you how Ganga arrived. Anybody? What happened? Okay. What happened? The ancestors of Sri Ram, you heard of Bhagirathi?
Yes.
Bhagirathi wanted to do his own ancestors ki Shanti. And that is how he worshipped for a number of years. And that is how he was given the blessings that the river called Ganga has to be brought onto the earth. ताकि मनुष्य जाति का गति हो सके. That is how those blessings were given. And when he worshipped Ma Ganga said, the kind of power river Ganga had, if I come onto the earth, Prithvi chaknachur ho jayegi. That was the force of river Ganga. There was a dilemma that how do we get river Ganga? And incidentally, Ganga was brought in for gati, not for agriculture and prosperity. That is secondary. So he again worshipped and he said, river Ganga is ready to come onto the earth, but how do I get? Because this is the problem. He was told only way to get river Ganga onto earth is to request and worship Lord Shiva. Because if river Ganga would come into Shivji ki jataon ke raste prithvi pe utaro, that is the only way to control that pace. And that is how what happened, river Ganga, through Shivji ki jataon ke zariye it was brought onto the earth. And that is the connect between Bhole Shankar and river Ganga and Bhagirathi ji. And that is how Ma Ganga appeared on the earth. That is how we do Asti Visarjan into Ganga. And incidentally, Bhole Shankar is having a double connect because Ma Ganga goes where? It goes into Bay of Bengal. Ultimately, it goes into Bay of Bengal, isn't it?
Yes.
Samundar. And when did Samundar Manthan happen? How could we get Amrit onto the earth? When Samundar Manthan happened, before Amrit came, Vish appeared and all the gods refused to even touch it, and without consuming that Vish, Amrit could not be brought. Again Bhole Shankar said, I will drink that poison, and that is how that Nilkant. So there is a double connect. That river Ganga appears onto the earth, the town ke zariye, and it goes back to the sea from where the Amrit was again brought onto the universe through Bhole Shankar. So this is, I am sharing basically because so much of, I would say, children need to know, which firstly I think we need to read, which is there in all our, I would say, Quran oblique, Shastra oblique, whatever it is. And that is where I started doing all this after going to Dana to read all these documents. But it is something, I digressed, but I thought let me share with you. I think I have no more slides.
Yes.
Yes.
No, sir. Sorry.
So ultimately, I don't know how much time I have taken. It's about half an hour.
No, sir. 40 minutes.
What? So now I think I would keep it open if any views, any contributions on your side or any kind of questions. Though I think you all are learned people, you have done in your life very well, you are successful people. But be happy also. After success, what you need is happiness. That Maslow's needs of hierarchy, after your basic needs are satisfied, you look towards higher needs. And higher needs also include spiritual needs, to also include being happy. So ultimately, in life, it is more important to be happy, which I shared with you. Try and keep that key with you and be more happy in whatever situation. Seeing you, your children would emulate. If you are disturbed, they will learn and pick up the same thing. And incidentally, I am looking after a couple of schools where I am bringing back moral science. For the only reason because we learned moral science from our
Childhood.
from our grandparents.
Yes.
When I was a child, my father had no business to take me into his lab. There were grandparents who would constantly tell you stories. And today what has happened, grandparents are missing. The nuclear families. Times have become difficult. In the difficult times, the grandparents have disappeared. Times were good, happy, grandparents were with you. We have learned from them. So we need to teach them in the school, the moral science subject. They are not aware. And we blame them. He doesn't know. He knows nothing. Who has taught him? You are so busy, you have no time. Grandparents are missing. They are not with the family. So from where does this child learn? That is how I brought back this subject of moral science, the schools I am looking after. And you now need to be the grandparents at home. Either you get them or you be the grandparents. You have to wear the double hats. Otherwise your children would not get to know what you would have learned as a child. I don't know how you sort out this problem without blaming the young generation. We have to look within us to guide them. We need to share with them what we have learned over the years. Yeah, please, ma'am, you wanted to say something?
I just wanted to are that one step ahead. We're ready to be grandparents, but now we don't have grandchildren. That's where the society is moving.
Yeah, there's a complete shift, and I agree with you. You can't do anything to that, but if you have, definitely do the role which I'm talking about. But the shift is happening. Yeah.
I just want to say something, like gratitude. There's three things that gives me goosebumps. मेरे देश का agenda, my passion, and people like you. Like, thank you so much for your.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
So as you are introducing the moral science in the schools for kids and everything, we have a life coach, Dr. Parul, who is of the same profession.
Very nice.
So even I have two big takeaways from your teaching, sir. So one key is the happiness key, which I always say to the people, that once you love yourself, people will love you. And another thing, that Ganga and Brahmaputra, they originate from the same place and they go to the death from the same place. But because both the routes are different, they have their different roles. So choose your role and be that Ganga. Don't be that Brahmaputra, but don't blame Brahmaputra, because Brahmaputra is born to do for that role. Another takeaway which I am taking from you is that great grandchildren. Just 2 minutes.
Yeah, please.
So my elder one is in, I think he was in class 1. His teacher called me for, and we just get scared कि teacher school बुला रही है तो पता नहीं क्या शिकायत करेगी. And the teacher, the counselor, and the principal itself, they just asked me that being a working parents, how do you inculcate all the good teachings in your kid? So my kid is a born coach. Because of him, I am a coach. So we just told him that we have not inculcated anything in him. It's my my in-laws who always been his side and teaching him everything from morning to night and giving him all the good education. Then hats off to my in-laws and not to me. And they were like in the oath, yes, they are giving a good teaching to your kids. So that's the line that you should be the grandparents to your kids and parents to your kids. So if you don't have the grandparents, in-laws or your maternal parents, be the parents and double parents for your kids. That's my
Good man, I'm so happy.
Here I would like to say for you, you are a good bahu.
Thank you so much.
In-laws. God bless you.
So there's a
Anybody
lot of
wants to
learning
say
from
something
you.
to sir?
I have actually made notes, दो पेज के मेरे notes बन गए हैं.
And finally, I would say it is one life. You decide how to live your life. Because that movie, I always
Yeah,
say,
sure.
remember that Zindagi na milegi dobaara.
Okay.
Very nice.
What did you do? Come.
Sir, as an entrepreneur, आज बहुत अच्छे चैप्टर्स आपसे मिले हैं on HR management. हम लोग जैसे बड़े हो रहे हैं in the business, the size of the team is increasing.
Yeah.
We are coming across so many challenges of HR management.
Yeah.
And I can imagine आपने जो वो 230 लोगों का जो ग्रुप था 75 दिन आप लोगों ने भूखे कैसे वहाँ पे बिताया, तो उनको कैसे मैनेज किया होगा, क्योंकि everybody has their own tantrums.
Yeah, definitely.
It is actually very unimaginable.
Yeah, it is.
It is very unimaginable.
सर जब ये वीडियो बन रहा था ना, सॉरी टू
Yeah.
इंटरप्ट सर,
Yeah.
जब ये वीडियो बन रहा था ना, वी हैड गूज बम्प्स. हमने कहा ये ना मिट्टी ही अलग होती है, ये तो हम सोच भी नहीं सकते वर्ड,
In fact, while he was telling this story, I had this goosebumps going on.
You know, I have been a soldier all my life, because at 16 you joined the academy. What separates me from my age is only the childhood, which also I spent in the school, in boarding school. So there was hardly any time, and when I look back, I have actually lost my childhood very early to be firing and shooting and all that at 16. But then what you learn ultimately is management. At National Defence Academy, management, first lesson they would tell you, if you fall down from a horse, you are injured. That instructor will tell you, go and search for the horse. You are running in the jungle to look for your horse. Your injuries can wait. ये सब बाद में, पहले घोड़ा लेके आओ. That is National Defence Academy. And if you lose your bicycle, they give you a bicycle there. And you have to move. It's a 15-kilometer area. Without bicycle, somebody will pick up your bicycle and go. And you will complain, I lost my bicycle. They say, you manage, you start running now. So management came too early to me. I mean, at 16 you learned how to manage, and management is all about survival in any situation. And that helped me in Sierra Leone because I have gone through a lot of crises. You learn from your crisis. The more crises in business you have, you will evolve better. Never say, I am having difficult time. No, this is going to teach you.
It is experience time.
And you will come out successful, better ultimately if you don't give up. It is not important how many times you fall down. It is important how many times you get up after falling down.
Wow.
To fight again.